Good morning. Good morning, SBS Prof, friends, senior. Thank you for allowing me to go first because after this I have another one on this as an ongoing APEC Medical Education Conference. Also, we are also trying to weave the same message here at the medical schools. Remember, we have to go all the way upstream. Yeah, we know about the importance, but always think about the recipients. Don't assume policy push out sometimes will be understood at the bottom, especially in this context. Our ambition is every heat death, not 99%. I said again, every heat death is preventable. So your Akong and Ama must understand. No point us pushing the science out, say very hot days, drink cold waters, take cold showers. If you cannot convince your Ama, say, are you talking nonsense again? How can hot days drink cold water and cold shower? Also, who your Ama and Akong listen to? Maybe it's the TCM physician. Have a conversation with him or her. Trust me, they probably take instruction and advice from them more than you. Also, so always see, I want you to have a position, a posture of empathy. Even though we are living, SBS Chua knows best amongst us. I was surprised last week at the Heat Health Forum, Secretary General Red Cross said there's still 100,000 people living alone in Singapore. Not sure where the stats, SBS Chua can verify that. I was shocked. I thought Singapore probably we are talking about small numbers. I saw that documentary. It's not so straightforward. You want to offer them place to stay, all kinds of reasons. Say, no, I don't want to stay. I want to be alone. Bear in mind, as we talk about global warming, we're also embracing aging population. The double whammy can happen. I placed upon myself in 2018, I was from DSO for 12 years. I told them, the likelihood of hot war is very unlikely. So my mandate is no one should die of heat during my tenure. I exited in 2018, just before I exit, Corporal First Class Dave Lee passed away due to heat stroke. That gave a big shock to the system. We reject the whole system. And now as you embrace climate change, I hope you have that posture. Don't wait for that unfortunate news one day. It can happen. Headline news, an elderly living alone, very hot day, he passed on. Then we ask ourselves, why didn't we talk about this and take urgent actions? Yeah. So I will start with a video, but then I'll quickly qualify. It's not just about heat death. Heat is compromising us in many ways that you might not be aware of.
A heat wave is spreading across Southeast Asia as temperatures in Thailand reach 47 degrees.
It is hot. Earth's average temperature in 2023 was the warmest on record. Climate change is making heat waves longer and more intense. One of the worst side effects of the warming world is heat stroke. It can strike anyone, anywhere, like these two hikers, whose day of adventure quickly turned critical as the sun climbed higher.
When your body overheats and can't cool down, it can damage your brain, heart, kidney, and muscles. The invisible nature of heat waves means we do not realize we are facing heat stress until it is too late.
Symptoms like dizziness, muscle cramps, and extreme fatigue can escalate quickly, leading to serious dehydration and heat exhaustion. As their condition worsened, their only hope was a rapid rescue. The hikers faced the harsh consequences of their ordeal. What happened to them could happen to you and I. But why is our Earth getting hotter? Our atmosphere acts like a blanket, trapping the sun's warmth. However, human activity has made this blanket thicker, trapping more and more heat. The result? Extreme weather events are happening more often. Everyone is at risk, especially pregnant women, children, and the elderly. What can we do to prevent heat illness? Let's start with making sure you stay cool in the heat. Drink water or other fluids at regular intervals. On hot days, stay in the shade if you can. Find a cooler spot to rest. Reach out to your neighbors. Check on them. Share what you know. If you're experiencing dizziness, nausea, red, dry, or damp skin, headache, or fainting, you need to seek urgent care. Heat stroke can humble the fittest among us. Beat the heat and secure your safety.
Yeah, so most of us associated heat, the dangers of heat, as heat stroke, meaning that if there is no heat stroke means no problem. So this probably happens to these motivated young men and women, not my problem, therefore. That is almost like our posture for a long time as a nation. Remember, if I rewind 5 years back, you think heat is probably mid-death kind of problem. Maybe firefighters, MHA, that's it. But in recent years, we began to appreciate it's not just about heat stroke death. No, for us, for many of you who sit in this room, you are affected indirectly. There's no such concept as incidental physical activity in Singapore. Who walk more than 2 bus stops in Singapore to work? You say, cannot. You have to work a bit sweaty. So you hardworking, don't have time to exercise in the morning, means at night means gone. You don't have incidental physical activity. Remember, if you are cooler places, 10,000 steps, very easy. I just walk every day to work, come back, 15,000 steps. So we are being compromised in more nuanced way. How about mental health? Lack of physical health, physical activity out there, you will exacerbate your mental health issue. How about eye health? 9 out of 10 adults are myopic. Do you know that lack of outdoor exposure can increase your risk? Not just sports. Sports is good. I saw the stats before between indoor sports and outdoor sports. Outdoor sports curb your myopia. I can go on. How about dogs also? You see a slide. I have some passion for pets. I just came back from Scandinavia and they told me above 10 degrees Celsius, huskies do not work. I think we should ban huskies in Singapore. When huskies are barking, they are not barking, they are scolding the pet owner. Why you bring me here? I'm suffering. Secretary General UN has already said that we have entered into the brand new phase. It was already, the modelers were correct, but the modelers were also wrong because they thought we have a few more years, a few more decades. It's happening much faster. 2023, he has announced we have entered from a brand new phase. No more global warming. It's boiling. And in our part of the world, our leeway is getting tighter and tighter. You may even challenge heat waves. Do we have heat waves per se? We are exposed in chronic heat exposure that shape our behavior. Which means, this weekend you say we're supposed to go to East Coast Park. The parents said, wow, today very hot. Maybe we cancel, let's go to watch a movie. That scenario will play out. While infra is wonderful, the parks are beautiful, but how much do we use those? Also, there are a lot of implications when you are living in the places like Singapore and the region. It will shape your behavior. Again, if that's not enough, the UN Secretary General made another big call, this time call to action last year. And amongst various vulnerable groups, the workers, I have strong heart for our workers. We have the choice to avoid heat and pay the price indirectly. Do you know heat directly affects the tenets of human health and well-being? Also, here I'm trying to impart knowledge that can boost your health because heat suppresses exercise. Heat is going to compromise your sleep. The V3 projection say in mid-century, best case scenario. So just prepare for that. Every night will be a warm night. Epidemiological data say that warm night killed more people than warm day. I could only speculate because warm night, usually you are alone at home, so you are in trouble, there's nobody beside you. And your risk of being succumbed will be higher as compared to day, probably you are outside. So exercise gets suppressed, sleep will be compromised. Not many of you are aware. Heat also suppress eating. Also depending who you are. Some people say suppress eating is a good thing. I think I'm eating too much, So also use heat very intelligently as a trigger. I know a lot of physicians say we're a bit overweight, so maybe don't run first, go for a swim. After 6 months, you swim, say, I swim every morning, but the weight loss, not very successful. We found out they eat very well after the swim. Remember those? I still remember my younger days, the fish ball and the mee siam so very well at swimming pool. You don't see stores outside a running track. You don't eat as well after a run. So use that also. I ask for those who sit in this room, you belong to the privileged ones. Don't avoid the heat at all costs. Use the heat intelligently. It is a stress. Apply it correctly, it becomes a eustress. I'm thinking, how can I change behavior? Maybe we should do a study to say 3 walks at 12 noon, 30 minutes makes you younger, more beautiful. Maybe next day, more people will come out and walk. So look at the behavior part, don't just look at the science per se. Lancet, there's a lot of reports out there. I'll not go to the detail. Look at right evidence. Lancet is a community that talk about the key health indicators of climate change. So this is a report I want you to refer to. Very quickly, ABC, how do one respond to heat? Yeah, we have mechanisms to beat the heat. So in a compensable state, straightforward. You sweat a bit, you vasodilate, push the hot blood onto the skin. If the environment is okay, you dissipate the heat. So sweating is good. If somebody now tell you, say, hey, run a bit, sweat already, bit weak, debunk that, the one who sweat more is more heat acclimatized, is fitter. The price of that is you probably need to replace more. So don't have wrong idea. We are more worried people in our context, they don't sweat. So sweating is good. But if you become an uncompensable state, you will increase your heart. You need to pump the blood, because now it's very hot. You need to supply, then there's dehydration going on. If you don't stop this process, at some points, the toxins can be leaked out of your guts. Then if you don't cool or don't perform first aid, you have a cascading effect. Eventually, people usually don't get killed because of the heat assault per se. You will have a sequence causing one organ to fail after another. So it be as short as a day or two, could be as long as a few weeks before one passed due to heat stroke. So when you get a call, eventually somebody passed in the medical tent, we always say, likely not heat stroke per se, could be heat-induced cardiac arrest, but usually heat stroke does not kill you on the spot. Also appreciate whether you are in a compensable or an uncompensable state. The thing is, in our context, right, we are living in a unique situation. It's not super hot, but it's hot enough to cause thermal discomfort, very humid, therefore suppress your evaporation, your sweat evaporation. Remember again, sweat does not lose heat, sweat evaporation does. Also, you must find ways I'm not sure whether technologies here, find a way for your sweat to evaporate. You will do wonders. So if just now the group photo did not turn out well, right, you can use this. This is our group photo. For longest time, Singaporeans, Southeast Asia, equatorial residents, we are the boiling frogs. We are sitting there, only complain, never do much to take. But now I want you to take actions. For those of you here, use the heat. For those of you workers out there, the employers must understand to provide work rest cycle, provide cooling. It's not just good for health, it's good for business. It's not a zero-sum game. We have hard data to show provide work, provide rest. It's good for health, happy workers, good productivity, but it's good for business too. Okay? These are the three parts. Our outcomes we are often after don't just be curbed away by heat injury, productivity. If we could do an experiment to get the same group of workers build a skyscraper in Singapore versus in cool country, you will conclude, say, wow, I didn't know. Huge presentism. Here, we can still build that project, but it takes much longer. Greater exposure, which means more chances for accidents to happen. It's not just heat. I don't want to attribute everything to heat. Just imagine with me, if you are in an uncomfortable position or context, too hot, too cold, too smelly, too noisy, what would you do? Your default is, I want to get the job done and get out of here, right? And also imagine you are an experienced worker, 10 years experience. This machine must take 10 steps. Wow, so hot or so noisy. Your default human response is, maybe step 6, a bit redundant. I'm so experienced anyway. Let's skip. Your hands get chopped. Also, heat-induced decision-making leading to accidents, we don't quite link. Also, we all thought heat is just heat stroke death. Ask MOM, they'll say, actually, based on that, right, heat injury is only 4 cases per year. But right, we shouldn't be prioritizing our resources on heat injury based on hard stats. But there's a lot of indirect impact, productivity. How about hearing loss? I saw the stat. Number 1 is hearing loss from MOM. Have you think about, we have solutions for loud noises, wear the ear defenders. Have you now seen from the workers? Try wearing a ear muffler for 10, 12 hours in our context. See whether you either sometimes take out because it's too uncomfortable or don't wear it properly because it's just uncomfortable. As a behavior response to thermal discomfort, or therefore including other discomfort leading to other problems. Also, sometimes it's not so direct. It's an indirect implication due to thermal discomfort. I want to equip you. It's not all doom and gloom. Don't assume hot weather or hot climate equals to the hot body. Remember, we are after hot human. So if it's very hot, you can adjust your clothing. If there's not much you could do, adjust your exercise intensity duration. Also, don't think that hot day means hot body. Therefore, it's cool day, we have no problem. Not true. Very comfortable day, you can work very hard, you can become very hot, and therefore you can get heat injured. So see that principles, the science, and then I'll say, oh, okay, now very hot. Actually, I can reduce my exercise intensity or duration. In fact, I present an opportunity to you. We Asians are workaholic, right? So now I say, I don't have time for 40 minutes of run every morning. Right? How about 20 minutes of jog at noon? Use heat as a stress. Because your exercise routine is not for performance, you just want to increase cardiovascular strain. Running at the same pace at 11 a.m., assuming you're well educated, maybe you half the time. Save time without compromising your training quality. That is the aspiration. We are not there yet because you sure have people say, well, this guy crazy, so hot, want me to run. I didn't ask you to run at the same pace and duration. I said half the time. That's where research can come in and say, oh, what is the equivalent? Thinking of creative ways to use the heat because we do want our people to get out there. That's exactly what happens. You cannot train in cool environment and then you kind of race in stand charts, which is uncomfortable, especially you're a slow runner. As you progress, it gets warm and humid, the sun will come out. Also, always train based on where you're going to operate, right? So use the heat correctly. These are all the direct and indirect implications. I want to flash this slide to impress upon you it's not just about heat stroke death. There's a lot. See the little pets there? That's one of my favorite. I put a dog there. So there are a lot of other implications, different. How about fertility? We have epidemiological data, not just us. So the heat can suppress the quality of your sperm. Maternal health, children's health, clear data to support that. Thermal comfort in school. Every school is a good school, but every school might not be a cool school. How about various occupations? Firefighters, law enforcers, not just about heat stroke death. You get somebody uncomfortable, he can make a wrong decision. How about the elderly? It cut across the whole society. There's a lot of value why we are putting resources here. It's not just about heat stroke death. That is the ultimate. We are being compromised in other ways. So finally, I don't have time to run through each of these, but I'll just give you the principles so you can go out of this room saying, hey, actually we have problem, but we also have solution. That must be our aspiration. I hope the younger folks here, I'm coming to 50 soon, so I still belong to the young group based on Greek definition, I was told. Below 50, you're still young. More challenges ahead, but bear in mind there's also more enablers in our modern life. My aspiration is the next generation will live 100 years easily. You look at from macro perspective. Also, don't be doom and gloom. I was told that this anxiety, so not true. You got big challenge. You also got ChatGPT. You have your data science, AI, So with the enablers add together, the world is going to be more exciting. Okay, coming back to this again, work rest cycle. If this line here will always be a fix, means if you don't do anything, you hit your threshold, you're doomed. Either you compromise your work output, you push harder, you succumb to heat. So you have work rest cycle. For those who came from the military or MHA, you understand we always, first step, optimize your work rest cycle. If you rest more, you can achieve the objective. Yes, the price is you have to complete that in the longer duration, but you can achieve it without compromising your health. The best way to beat the heat is aerobic conditioning. I'm sorry and I apologize, we have not developed that pill you can swallow and can be heat resilience. Before COVID, we said keep fit for general health. During COVID, we said keep fit to have a strong immune system and for mental health. Post-COVID, we are not being too demanding. We said keep fit to be heat resilience. So just one thing, cut across, cheap, good, very sustainable. Because heat resilience has a high association with aerobic fitness because it's the only way you can reduce your body temperature at the start, attenuate the rate of rise, and have a higher limit. So it's true when you say a fit man is a cool man. We have shaft rectal probe ingestor pill. Usually the fitter you are, you start at a lower core temperature. It's also evidence-based to say a fit man is a hot man. It's correct. Because the hottest athletes we see are very fit individuals who can produce a lot of heat at endurance races without succumbing to heat injury. So it's evidence-based when you call a guy, hey, you're fit, cool, and you're also very hot. So it's evidence-based. Heat acclimatization. There are two contexts. In a hot environment, but wet environment, you have a reduction in body temperature, but you don't have the attenuation. Why? Because you sweat more doesn't mean you can evaporate your sweat. So females, you do have an advantage. I think males are wasteful sweater. You oversweat in our context. Female glow, they sweat just enough for the required evaporation. So long, that's why they could explain why ultra endurance event females might have an age, they conserve the fluid more as compared to men. But in a dry context in the Middle East, right, then you have advantage of attenuation because now the limitation is not environment. The more you sweat, the more you can lose the heat. And finally, one more, cooling is more physics than physiology. Take a cold shower, drink cold water before the race, you have reduction, then you can go longer. And finally, the most common, and don't go away, I've been accused before, say this crazy scientist said don't drink. I'm just saying amongst all your tools in the arsenal, hydration is just one. Because I heard many conversations, don't worry it's going to be hot, I just drink more. You only use one tool in your arsenal, which is hydration. And we have found in local medical tents, many report they're over-intoxicated. It could be a Singaporean thing. You say 1 cup is good. You say 1 cup is good. 3 cups may be better. Go for 5 cups. So the marathon become like a social event. Hey, let's go and get a t-shirt and medal, walk the race and drink. We see people get water intoxicated. Okay, so these are the tools out there. Use them holistically so you can beat the heat. So there are solutions. Don't reinvent for the reinvent's sake. This was used very successfully in the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Home Affairs. Our record heat injury, I think we are very proud. Number of training exposure and heat injury must be world best. If there's an Olympic medals given in this regard, we must be doing quite well. So share the goodness beyond MHA, MINDEF. Now we are pushing it to public health, pushing it beyond Singapore and for our region. So this is my favorite slide. Without any heat mitigation, this is your limitation. So a good solution must reduce your start state, attenuate the rise, increase your capacity. Because by doing so, look at your capacity to tolerate heat strain is now expanded. This expansion has a direct association with ability to do well and safe in a hot environment. Oh man, this slide is too good. I must repeat one more time. Okay, without anything, this is your capacity, your human potential. Okay, our TFR might not be looking good, but our working hypothesis is you have not reached your true potential yet. Heat will suppress your potential. So beat the heat, you will live well and do much better. So 5 ways to reduce your body temperature at the start. Attenuate its rise, increase your tolerance. By doing so, your ability to tolerate heat will be expanded, therefore leading to enhanced work performance and safety in a hot environment. Okay, so learn how to beat the heat. One more point here. People say, I don't agree with Jason, because I've seen very fit, very well acclimatized, cooling strategies employed, hydrated very well, still succumb to heat. Why? Because the person can choose to go beyond the expanded capacity, often due to motivation. We see this in our special forces, very well-trained troops, elite athletes that can push beyond. And therefore, technology has a space. This is our aspiration. Although this is not implemented yet, but we are seeing that in the future, not just with guidelines, policy, with wearables, right? We must aspire. Now we can pick everyone live. This was demonstrated in Singapore Army Half Marathon. More than 100 troops, we track them live, set the threshold, and have ability to see the dashboard and pull them out accordingly before they succumb to heat strain. Also, imagine the future with technology enablers, we can beat the heat here. Push out knowledge also. 2023 July, we rolled out a National Heat Stress Advisory. Working in Sport SG, we push out advisory very specific to the athletes. Every ministry should have. Last time during my DSO days, when MOE, for example, approached, I said, it's okay, we just adapt from MINDEF law. I said, cannot. Now I'm very glad every ministry said, now we have heat stress advisory. What does it mean to us? Every ministry is responding. So we're in the midst of trying to shape and contextualize each of these science to make it work. Science without context is not so useful. Also, you must contextualize. Okay, I have a group of historians there. I really appreciate. Sometimes you want to embrace or tackle new challenges and look back before you take a step forward. Heat management, heat sciences and nuances were first described in occupational military context. The sports setting in the last few decades also taught us how to beat the heat because major games are often held in the summer. The recent decade, people using heat as a therapy. So you can exercise, soak yourself in onsen and sauna. You can get yourself strong. But now use all the science and experiences. We can tackle heat towards the public health context. Also look back before you take a step forward. I'm also calling out for medical school to start to weave all this information, because if the physicians are going to be imparting health and knowledge, right, they ought to be taught. Remember years back, American college called exercise is medicine. I sort of realized, how come you impart this knowledge to the exercise physiologists? We don't see the patients. We are not the one prescribing the medicines. So how can we prescribe exercise as another mode of medications, and subsequently was imparted to the physicians. So get the right audience, get the right individuals who are going to deliver the message. Also, don't miss the boats completely. Okay, we have formed the Heat Resilience and Performance Center. Note here, we should come to the stage. It must be a whole of nation effort. It serves as another conduit where we come together to do work. Near future, we could incorporate both pollutants, often unseen, with heat, not just heat alone. So there's another new capability we could set out. And finally, we also set out the Southeast Asia WHO, WMO Heat Health Hub. I have a heart, not just for your fellow citizens. We are part of the region. And I've traveled enough around this region. Honestly, their response is, we don't even care about health. Just teach us how to beat the heat for livelihood. If I can stay in the farm, cut about more cane, sell more at the end of the day, that is what I want. That's how desperate lives are out there. So for both altruistic and also for strategic reasoning, we should have a heart. We have the resources, we have the know-how, do good for your neighbor. Don't depend on the government to knock at the door, next door when the weather is hot. So actually very easy, everybody just have a buddy system. If it's hot, I just walk to the next door. I know there's an old man living in there, and it's very hot. Are you okay? Do your part, and collectively, I think we can move the needle. I will skip the video because it's just a summary of the Heat Health Hub. Okay, I want to call, there's a booth out there, Reset. It's again a national project, so they'll perform free blood pressure measurements, assess your heart rates, and you're interested to know more about yourself, do participate in the study. There are many booths out there. I want to give a big call out to Project Reset. I want to leave time for Q&A if I may. With that, I thank you and thank my team who is doing all the work. So with that, thank you for your attention.
Hi, I'm Tay. My question is, what's your advice for rotational breaks, right? For occupations like lifeguards or pool guardians, because they are constantly outdoor. Yes, there will be shelters, but again, it will be outdoor. So what's your recommendation?
Yeah. In that context, we have conversations before. It's not so much of an exertional heat stress because they are not working per se, but the UV exposure presents a very high risk. I mean, they do cover up, they put their sun cream, So I don't have a specific exposure and rest cycle in terms of UV exposure, but just bear in mind in their context, right, the prolonged exposure to the sun might present another issue of UV exposure. In fact, another context would be our workers. They'll have the double whammy. They're going to be out there for 10, 12 hours. They have the UV. They also have the radiant heat. They are different. One can add a lot of heat. One can just burn your skin, depending on the frequency of the ray. Also, be careful. Find the sweet spots. Again, that is the difficult one. On one hand, they want to cover out to prevent UV exposure, but we do see a lot of them over-covering and therefore limits the ability to lose the heat. Also still covered up, but don't overdress. The workers who have seen that, they put layers onto that. We're advising them one layer would suffice because for you, you're also producing heat. So find that sweet spot. Again, I don't have an objective, quantifiable way, but you have to understand for lifeguard, it's not so much of an exertional heat stroke. The heat that is going to cause high risk, potentially skin cancer if you are not careful. The UV exposure is very real. Thank you.
Very good question. Does it apply for tennis coaches as well? They're in the sun most of the time.
Yeah, for people who are exposed, prolonged hours in the sun, I just take care. The sun cream, clothing, will be helpful to avoid those. Yeah.
All right, let's go for the next question. Yes, gentleman in the middle.
Good morning. This is Jay Shin. Do you have any special recommendations for pediatrics?
Very young kids. How old are the kids? They are
3 to 5?
Yeah, okay. Okay, again, it's contextualized. When we say children are vulnerable to heat, similarly to the elderly, we're talking about very young kids. and the elderly. We're talking about children as a whole, because in our context, there's a bigger issue that children are not out there enough. So we're very careful not give another wrong reason for the parents who are often protective and say, well, now with global warming, you better don't go outside. Because the greater problem is our kids are not out there. Unless we have PE periods, they are exposing them for 3-4 hours. We study that, and based on context, it's perfectly safe. Some even argue, going back to the earlier question, I cannot go out because I have UV exposure, but do you run outside for 4, 5, 6 hours? You don't. And also it's contextualized, you risk assess that the benefits you gain from exercising outdoor, even though it's hot, with some sensibility, significantly outweighs the potential risk of getting heat injured. Let's say going back to your question there. Also, get the kids out there. Kids need outdoor exposure. Maybe we should really do that study to say that kids' outdoor exposure make you smarter, get more, better score. Again, we want to find ways to trigger the behavior, because I think the parents are very academic bias, they say no lah. So again, my short response is for pediatrics at the age group. Still keep an eye on them, but don't be overprotective because it might induce a vicious cycle. For the boys in our context, say now you don't expose to the sun. You go to SF, go to MHA, you have to be exposed to the sun. So make them heat resilience from the onset. Educate them, teach them. Parents, this heat again is a stressor. Don't present heat always as a distress. Heat can curb your mental health, your eye health. Use it to your advantage. Since it's free, we don't have to pay for heat. So learn to use the heat correctly. It will do you more good than bad.
Yeah, something related to the aircon environment. Just wondering, one comment in Singapore is that it's freezing on the inside, it's so hot on the outside. Such temperature variation, would it pose a significant stress? Number one. Number two would be in a very hot and tropical climate in Singapore. I'm just thinking, how shall we actually have a campaign to dress appropriately? We are in suits and ties in an aircon environment, then we have to remove everything as we go out. How can we, do that?
Yeah, thanks. Excellent point. First, I want to make the point on aircon. First, I want to qualify that aircon is one of the best inventions. Okay, so again, don't blame aircon. And I think the problem in our society, like in many other areas, is the allocation of resources are not accurate. People who don't need aircon are abusing the aircon. And people who really need aircon sometimes don't have access to aircon. I said an example. I remember there was one day I was asked to visit the oncology ward at NUH because they were feedback the patients are thermally uncomfortable. So we went there, clear enough. Don't even have to ask, they were sweating, and there's this rule and said subsidized ward, unless it's above the 32 degrees Celsius, no aircon will be provided. I said, okay, that's strange. That evening I went back home, I saw my 17-year-old daughter putting on a hoodie, blasting down the aircon, look at me and say, "Pa, this is very comfortable." I said, "You are the one that should be punished." That is exactly just depicts what we are discussing this afternoon, the allocation of resources. Also, again, don't point as if the aircon is a bad thing. It's the usage of aircon that is wrong. But for those of you, we cannot convince you not to use aircon for good reason. Say, my thermal comfort is just very sensitive. This is a cue. When you turn on aircon without turning on a fan, that is wrong. Aircon must always be used in the presence of a fan. Okay, that is a very practical tip to you. Because once you turn on a fan, you immediately will increase the thermostat of your aircon because you will feel a lot more cooler and therefore get uncomfortable. You say, oh, maybe do I put 30, 22, 25, 26, even 27 with the fan will achieve the same thermal comfort. Good for you, good for your electricity bill. Now up to 70% saving. So use that. Never turn on the fan. If I want to go away, I never turn on the aircon today without turning on your fan. I got feedback saying it's not about the fan because I didn't consider the fan in my whole ID design. So it doesn't look good to put a fan. Oh man, all sorts of reasons. Maybe next time when you design your home, please design your fan in. So you'll use a fan in your homes also. Going back to the point on, there are two, right? The first one is, can you remind me again?
Yeah, you're freezing on the inside.
Yeah. The behavioral part is the key. It's when we see casualties at medical tents, a lot of them actually are non-locals. Why? Because of the behavioral thermoregulation. They were training in this sort of pace in London. They say, I come to Singapore, I think I can beat these Singaporeans. I will maintain the pace and hopefully I will podium it. they found out that it's hotter and therefore heat dissipation is limited. So there is this lack of behavioral regulation. In fact, that is the biggest risk. Behavioral thermal regulation is more powerful than physiological thermal regulation. Therefore, work rest cycle is the most powerful way to beat the heat. Not rocket science, don't want to produce heat, I don't work. Right? The problem is, of course, in the real society, you cannot don't work. Don't work, you have no pay. So we should try to often still work, but don't overwork. That is a behavioral intervention. So be careful when you come out from a cold to the hot place, that acute transition, you might still feeling the sensation as if you're a cool environment, you might over-exert when you go out, especially in the exercise context. Again, I always find we can use this to trigger behavior. Now I'm working in the CBD, I come out of the building, there is this lane that is sheltered, this lane that is not sheltered. Maybe I ask McDonald's to bid for the land that is closer to my workplace because we can charge them more, right? But I don't put the shelter to the McDonald's. I put a shelter to this healthy living food. I'll run an experiment. I think that I want to eat McDonald's, but wow, so hot. Maybe I'll go for this sheltered walkway. I go to the nice food. I speak to business prof, they say, hey, maybe we should use this to increase online buying, because when somebody is uncomfortable, you just buy, and get out of here. But the other prof challenges, say, be careful. Once you cross the threshold, he might say, so hot, I don't want to buy already. Also, using comfort, thermal discomfort can trigger your behavior. We did a study at SGH, the healthcare workers, responders. They didn't get very hot. We are concerned of heat stroke, but we used a balloon analog risk-taking test, an established test to test your risk-taking behavior. Long story short, we found that when they're thermally uncomfortable, healthcare workers took more risk. Bad for them, bad for the patients at charge. So again, I'm calling out for those oncology wards I saw in hospital, and the patients are not happy. I still have the cheek to ask the head nurse, say, nurse, are you okay? She looked at me sweating, said, do you need me to tell you that I'm not okay? I said, I'm sorry. So it's the allocation of resources. Prof Chin, sorry, your second question?
Our clothing attire, what would be appropriate for our...
Yeah, I sort of ended, okay, partly I dress in this, actually when I do heat talk, I always say no jacket is allowed, but there's a more formal event after this at UCC. But I also sometimes, based on experience, places like conferences, we do turn down the aircon, so I still feel quite cold. You don't feel cold, man? I put on a jacket, I still feel a little bit cold. It's a good thing, cold means you are lean. If you're not so cold, means not so good. So I'm proud to say that. Put jacket, still cold, means maybe it's good for me also. But sorry, going back, the leadership, I can only speak, let's say NUS, we ask NUS presidents, you cannot come for formal meeting in suit and tie. The rest will follow accordingly. They come in polo tee. Remember last time we used to say that the policemen must be in a starch looking attire, but now I see policemen can be quite smart looking at polo tee, Bermudas, not only functional, but maintain that smartness. So I think it's not one or another. So university, I think a lot of places have already sort of like fixed the aircon and therefore force you to wear a certain attire. My own personal practice, because I sold my car as my small contribution towards sustainability. I took public transport, but when I reach office, it does get thermally uncomfortable. I'll be sweating because I'm fit. I told you, fit people sweat more, right? So I sweat. So what I do, I cannot adjust the aircon anymore. It's fixed at 25. I was told they will slowly bring out to 26, 27. I'll put on my personal neck cooling collar. It gives me a thermal comfort. After 10 minutes, I can remove it. I feel comfortable. So remember, moving ahead, don't cool the building, cool the humans. It's more targeted. A lot of dead spaces there that don't need to be cool, but now we are blasting. So now we know how to solve our problem, but we are self-inducing a lot of these things. Also be wise a bit. Speak to the leader, speak to your infra guys, work together. We can hack this. I'm really seeing movements in the right direction. Not there yet, but I think it's work in progress. Thank you.